Welcome, students. This lesson is for Thursday, January 30th. We'll have taken our system of equations test on Tuesday, and then this will be the lesson for that. This lesson is on solving one variable inequalities. So it's just going to have one letter in it, one x, one y, something like that in it, and then instead of equal sign, it's going to have inequalities. You started learning about inequalities back in elementary and middle school. And the symbols did not change. These are our inequality symbols over here. They just mean that it's not necessarily equal. This first one here, this is our less than symbol. This is our greater than symbol. When you put the line underneath it, it means it's less than or equal. And this one would be greater than or greater than or equal. Okay. A hint, this less than symbol looks sort of like an L, and that's the easiest way to keep less than and greater than separated from each other. Don't let the alligator stuff or the Pac-Man stuff that you learned back in elementary confuse you. If it could be an L, then it's a less than. If it couldn't be an L, then it's greater than. We're going to use inverse operations, which means opposites. Opposites attract, like earlier in there, just like we did when we solved equations. So if you see plus 3, you're going to do minus 3. If you see 2 times x, you're going to divide by 2. So we're going to do the opposite. Your goal is to isolate the variable on one side. Same thing we were doing back when we were solving equations. This right here, these last two things are the only new changes. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign. So if it was this, it switches to that. If it had the line under it, the line stays under it. Okay, so you have to flip the sign if you multiply or divide by a negative number. And we'll see some examples of that here in just a few minutes. Then the last thing, after you solve it, if the variable is not on the left, you have to flip it. So we used to be okay with getting something like 3 equals x, because that's the same as 3 equals x equals 3. Now, if we get 3 is less than x, we have to flip all parts of it. The x flips to the left, the 3 flips to the right, and the symbol flips from less than to greater than. And we'll look at some examples of that as well. Okay. When we go to graph the inequality, we're going to graph them on a number line, and we have some rules down here that we're going to learn to follow. After you've solved it, you're ready to graph it. First, put this is called an open dot. Open meaning that it's not covered in, not closed in, or not colored in. And you use that for less than or greater than. Or you use what's called a closed dot, which means it's colored in, for less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So if it has the line underneath it, we color it in. No line, no color. Next, you draw the line to the right for greater than or equal to. See how those point towards the right? Those are like a right arrow. And you do to the left for less than or equal to. And you can see how those are kind of pointing to the left also. Down here, this kind of sums it up. Black dot, if it has the equal to part. This points to the right, that points to the right. This points to the left, that points to the left. Open dot, because these don't have anything underneath them, points to the right, points to the right, points to the left, points to the left. All right, let's. Okay, and problem number 1 up here, our goal is to get x by itself, so we're going to get rid of the 5 by doing minus 5, that cancels out. Bring down our x, bring down our less than or equal to. 9 minus 5 is 4. This is solved. It can be that easy. To graph it now, we would go and find where 4 is. 1, 2, 3, 4 would be right here. Because it has the line under it, we're going to use a closed dot. This is pointing towards the left, so our arrow is going to be pointing towards the left. And so what this is telling us is that any number, including 4, and to the left of it, will make this a true statement. So we could practice a couple here. Is less than or equal to 4. A number right here, that could be 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 4? Yes. 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 4? Yes. But if we picked a number on this side, 5, Is 5 less than or equal to 4? And that's a no. And numbers on the right-hand side aren't supposed to work. Number 2. We don't want to try to flip this in the beginning, although it is possible. You could flip it from the beginning, and then you wouldn't have to worry about flipping it at the end. I think it's probably, well, I'll show it to you both ways, and then we'll make a decision in class what we want to do. If you did not flip it, you would say, all right, well, we're going to divide both sides by negative 12. 24 divided by negative 12 is negative 2. Because we divided by a negative number, the symbol must flip. Those cancel, and we get that. Now we do not want the variable on the right-hand side, so everything has to get flipped. X goes there, negative 2 goes there, less than becomes greater than, and now we're ready to graph. Negative 2 would be negative 1, negative 2. That is an open circle. That points to the right, so that will go to the right. If we flipped it in the beginning, this is what it would look like. Negative 12 would go here, 24 would go here, and we would flip that to a less than to start out with. Then we would divide both sides by negative 12. X, flip the sign because we divided by a negative. It's negative 2. I actually may like that better, to go ahead and flip it in the beginning and get it out of your way. Okay, but either way, so this means that negative 2 will not work because negative 2 is not greater than negative 2. Okay, that is false. But any number to the right will work. So if we tried negative 1 is greater than negative 2. It's better to have negative $1 than negative $2. Okay, let's go down here. Number 3, slip a 1 in front of there. Divide both sides by negative 1 because when it's beside it we divide it. Divided by a negative, so that will flip. And that'll be negative 10. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Negative 10 would be out here. Colored in, points to the right. So that would point to the right. So it's kind of hard to see what I had to do there. Let me erase that and make a better picture for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's negative 10 right there. Colored in right there, pointing towards the right. Okay. Box 1 there. Subtract 3 from both sides. Bring down my 1x. Bring down my greater than. Negative 4 and negative 3 makes negative 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's negative 7. Open, points to the right, so points to the right. Okay. In this case right here, the reason why there's no flipping, we did a lot with negatives, but we never divided or multiplied by a negative. So you got to keep that in mind when you're doing it. All right, let's skip to number 8 here. Anytime we have to deal with the fraction, the number on bottom is what we are dividing by, so to undo that, we're going to multiply both sides. The 3's cancel. Keep my negative 2. Keep my x. I don't flip it because I multiplied by a positive 3. That becomes 18. When it's beside it, I divide it. Divided both sides by negative 2. Now it will flip because I divided by a negative. And we get negative 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Colored in, pointing towards the right. On number 9, we see parentheses, so we got a double rainbow. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times a negative 5 is negative 10. Bring down everything else. Box it. Plus 10, plus 10. 2x is less than or equal to 34. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and I'll write it up here. X is less than or equal to 17. Okay, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oops, I went the wrong way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So this would be 17. Colored in, pointing back to the right. X is less than or equal to 17. All things on the left are going to be less than. Here, on number 10, got a double rainbow. Bring down your 8. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. Greater than 13. Over here, I think we're ready to combine like terms. 8 minus 15 is a negative 7. Bring down your negative 3x. Greater than negative 13. We'll just keep solving here. Plus 7, plus 7. So that'll be negative 3x. Those will cancel. Greater than negative 6. Divide both sides by negative 3. X symbol will flip because I divided by a negative. Anytime you see this under here, this tells us to flip. Negative 3 divided by negative is positive 2. 1, 2. Open, pointing towards the right.